7 o'clock, your worship.
Good evening and welcome to the regular session of Council, Municipality of Bayham. It is Thursday, March the 21st, 2024, 7 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Remind members of any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none noted. I believe we do not have any items on the agenda.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do not have any additions to the agenda. I would, however, note that item 13.1.2A, the correspondence from the Stratfordville Community Committee, is being pulled from the agenda. This matter has been handled with the Stratfordville Hall Foundation.
All right, thank you for that. Section 4, announcements. Any announcements from council members? Councilor Chilcott.
Thank you. I just want to remind everyone that there is an Easter bingo tomorrow night at the Stratfordville Hall, and children are welcome. They'll have their own prizes. So I hope to see lots of people there.
What time?
I believe it's 7 o'clock.
All right, thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, considering the fact that we probably are not meeting again until after Easter, take the moment here to wish everyone in the gallery present and virtually and around the horseshoe, staff included, a very happy Easter. No presentations this evening, no delegations. Brings us to section 7, adoption of the minutes of the previous meetings. So we have special meeting of council held March the 5th, 2024. Regular meeting of council held March the 7th, 2024. Quarter revision meeting held March the 7th, 2024. And the public drainage meeting held March the 7th, 2024. I trust everyone has an opportunity to peruse those minutes. And if there are no errors or omissions, I would accept a mover and seconder for the following. That the minutes of the special meeting of council held March the 5th, 2024, minutes of the regular meeting of council held March the 7th, 2024, minutes of the quarter revision meeting held March the 7th, 2024, and minutes of the public drainage meeting held March the 7th, 2024 be approved as presented. Deputy Mayor, pardon me. Weisler, seconded by Councilor Froese. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have section 8, motions and notice of motion, and I don't believe there is anything on the agenda this evening. Brings us to section 9, the open forum. This evening we have Robert Ponzio. You wish to speak to item 11.2A. Welcome to the podium, and you have 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm Robert Ponzio. I'm a resident of Burwell. Regarding the potential paid East Beach parking in Port Burwell, please accept this letter and attached article for your consideration. I'm requesting that you consider reconsider moving forward with this discussion based on the following reasons. Imposing a paid parking program in Burwell can have repercussions that council may not directly see, but will certainly be felt by local businesses. This could put our already struggling businesses closer to failing or cause future businesses to not choose to operate in Port Burwell. This will have a negative impact on local economy, as paid parking has shown negatively to affect local businesses if customers choose to shop elsewhere to avoid parking fees. This has also led to a decrease in business in areas like Port Dover Beach, which directly affects the municipality's finances as well. Additionally, once pilot projects are in place, they're rarely removed. Other programs such as user connectivity using parking apps will be problematic. For example, Norfolk County users in Dover have a significant problem with users not being able to navigate the technology and resulting in tickets that have to be reversed and refunded, with many a sour feeling as a result. Connectivity is very problematic in Bayham. The cellular system in Burwell is spotty at best. Many people will not have a signal to connect, park, receive a ticket for their trouble, and may never return to the paid parking as a consequence. Also worth noting is that many visitors to the Lakeshore area turn off their phones to avoid accidental roaming across to the US, which is very common, unfortunately. There's high administrative costs to this. Implementing a parking system with companies like Honk requires us to consider a high fee of $4 an hour in the municipal law enforcement report. This because Honk takes fee for their service. This reduces municipal profit and hurts businesses. There would need to be an increase in infrastructure, such as bylaw officers, which are not usually factored into the total expenses. Signage is quite expensive and must be installed. Parking apps like Honk stand to make the most profit from our losses. Humans are still required with parking apps to impose tickets, enforcement expenses. Paid parking necessitates a team of bylaw officers to monitor compliance, issue tickets if tickets are dealt with by the municipal courts. It's not friendly to the town that we've grown accustomed to. Salaries, training, equipment of these officers are also should be considered in these expenses. If the cost of the parking deters visitors, or if compliance is low, the expected revenue from parking may not materialize in a meaningful way, impacting the overall cost effectiveness of the system, which leads to opportunities lost. These resources allocated to managing and enforcing paid parking could potentially be used for other services that would greater benefit the community. In summary, while paid parking may potentially generate some revenue, it's important to weigh these potential earnings against the full spectrum of costs associated with administration and the cost to local businesses through disincentives to tourism. Understandably, the council's mandate of fiscal responsibility has led him to explore this idea, but I urge you to consider tabling this option and creating an ad hoc committee that would help to advise you in the future.
Sorry.
That was quick as I can go. So I have this article about Port Dover. If you'd like, I made a copy for you guys, if I could leave it with you.
Leave
And,
with the clerk, that'd be fine, thank you.
Thank
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, I guess it'd be down to section 11, reports to council, 11.2. Which would be report BL 0224 by Stephen Miller, bylaw enforcement officer regarding the Port Burwell East Beach paid parking options.
Hello. Oh. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Through your worship, the report before you discusses the potential for the implementation of paid parking in the area of the East Beach and Port Burwell. Parking at the East Beach can be challenging during peak times throughout the summer months. Often people looking for space end up parking in sign prohibited areas. One solution to the problem is to create turnover by regulating parking and requiring payment in the parking lot for those spaces. Paid parking requires that users pay for the time that they occupy a space and encourage turnover. When turnover happens, users vacate the parking space when their time has expired, leaving the space open for others to use. The East Beach will further require significant capital investment over the next 10 years, and revenue generated from paid parking initiatives could offset the cost of that capital. A significant barrier to implementation of paid parking is the cost of the implementation of pay stations. Pay stations are costly to purchase, they're costly to maintain, and can be subject to vandalism. Staff are bringing before you this evening an alternative method of parking in the form of a mobile parking payment application. How do they work? Essentially, you use a mobile phone operating the application, or you go to a website on a mobile phone and make payment with a credit card. Once payment is made, the license plate of the vehicle then populates in a list that I, as the enforcement officer, can reference for enforcement purposes. Any vehicle that did not make payment or whose time has expired is subject to enforcement by ticketing. If people don't have a credit card or don't use technology, there are opportunities for strategic partnerships with local businesses. For persons that wish to pay in cash, strategic partnerships could be sought where parking users can pay in cash at a local business. The businesses that have chosen to partner with the municipality would collect the cash and enter the parking session, as well as the payment on behalf of the user via the internet. These partnerships are currently being used in Galveston, Texas, and they have been mutually beneficial for businesses as it drives foot traffic into those businesses and showcases their products to people that may not have otherwise attended those locations. Staff have reached out to several mobile parking payment vendors, and if interested, staff would recommend Honk Mobile. Cost would be $50 per month to administer the program, including back office software, as well as access to statistical reporting, as well as the enforcement application. Including in the costs are signage, as well as QR codes and tap reader stickers. Honk would take a 35-cent transaction fee, which is agreed upon once the user completes the transaction. Honk would remit 100% of the revenue collected to the municipality on a monthly basis. Honk Mobile are a Canadian company based out of Toronto and have a proven track record of success in Ontario, as they have strategic partnerships with the City of London, the City of Toronto, as well as the municipality of Central Elgin. Parking fees would need to be established by council in a bylaw, but there is an opportunity to offer permanent residents a significant discount. Honk has an option to offer residents of the municipality of Bayham a yearly permit at a cost of $3.50 per vehicle. The $3.50 cost would ensure full cost recovery in the operation of the program while allowing a discount for permanent residents who may have already been subject to the tax levy, which currently pays for the annual operations at the East Beach and is the primary funding mechanism for many upcoming beach improvements. There are approximately 150 spaces in the lots closest to the East Beach. Staff are proposing a daily rate of $20 and an hourly rate of $4 per hour. Staff did canvass other municipalities in the area that administer paid parking programs, and these rates are consistent with both Norfolk County as well as Port Stanley. If a daily rate of $20 is set and all the spaces are paid up at the daily rate, the lot can generate a maximum revenue at a rate of $3,000 per day, $90,000 per month, and $360,000 May through August 2024. These numbers are based on the best case scenario and based on maximum utilization. In addition to the East Beach parking, staff would recommend considering the lot at the end of Pitt Street, as well as the parking spaces along Chatham Street to be within scope of any rate establishing bylaw. If council decides to include those spaces, it would amount to an increase of 108 spaces, bringing the total amount of paid parking spaces to 258. If council desires and directs, all revenue from the implementation of paid parking can be allocated towards beach maintenance or the rehabilitation of non-core infrastructure associated with the East Beach. I have consulted with the manager, I am aware that some cell users have a difficult time getting cellular connection in Port Burwell, depending on the carrier. I have consulted with the manager of Public Works, who advised that at one time there was complimentary internet provided at the beach and that hardware for that is still in place. If we were to bring that hardware into operation, it could potentially solve any connectivity issues. Just a brief overview, what staff have brought before council for direction today is an opportunity to solve a problem related to parking turnover and beach parking while generating revenue for the offset of costs in maintaining the beach at a minimal cost to ratepayers in a way that does not have a significant capital investment impact in physical parking infrastructure. I do also have a representative from Honk Mobile available on the Zoom who can answer any questions related to Honk or how it might operate, should council have any questions to that end. Her name is Casey Siskin, and she has a wealth of experience in parking implementation across Ontario. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that presentation, Steve. Does anyone from council have any questions, any comments? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. With the section when it talks about the monthly fee, is there an onboarding cost as well, or is that if the if the decision would be to move forward with that, is there the software cost or anything like that, or is it just strictly $50 a month?
It's my understanding that it's $50 per zone. We would be only looking at establishing one zone with the same rates across paid parking in Port Burwell. So it would be $50, no onboarding, and Honk does come with the signs and things like that, which would be necessary to implement the program.
All right, so to clarify, it's $50 in min fee plus $35 cents a transaction.
Yes, Your Worship, and I should add that the 35 cents is not borne by the municipality. It's the end user that completes the transaction. So whatever the rate is, let's say the rate is set at $20 per day, it would be $20.35 to the end user. We get the 20, Honk keeps the 35 cents.
What about DHST?
HST is included, sorry, this is Mia Brown. I'm Casey Siskin's colleague. She couldn't make it today. The HST is included in the $20 year parking fee.
All right, well, thank you very much for that. Thanks for clarifying
No problem.
and welcome.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments, and I thank you very much for the report. We did ask as a council that we come up with some different cost-saving mechanisms within the municipality that would generate some more income, and I do appreciate your efforts on this. I do have some concerns about parking, mostly just because we've always made an effort to not have paid parking at the beach. So it's, I do have some concerns there. I am fully in support of the end of the report recommends that the Waterfront Advisory Committee be presented with this report to make comments. So I am fully in support of that. But I do also recognize that there are some connection issues. So with your comment about being able to mitigate those connection issues down at the beach, that's something else to consider as well. So those are just a few of my comments.
I would agree with you, Deputy Mayor, on that. It has been a longstanding, perhaps policy, if you will, of trying to maintain a fee-free zone in the municipality. I'm not opposed to investigating it. I'm not sure it's a fit, but I'm rather than just letting emotion drive the equation, I'm thinking that a more thorough investigation is perhaps warranted. I do want to mention that there were a couple of pieces of correspondence received by council members outside of the agenda because they were published late, but they were received, so you have them as well. And I would assume that though, you know, if council decides to move this on to the Waterfront Advisory Committee, that correspondence was made available to them as well. Yeah, but it's up to council. Councilor Chilcott.
Thank you. Personally, and from the people that I've spoken to, I do not care for the paid pricing or paid parking. It doesn't help us with our tourism. I know that when I went to Port Dover, when I went to Port Stanley and the pricing for their parking, I haven't been back since. And you go to event parking in London and it's $20 for you to be there for the evening. And that's a deterrent as well, because you've already paid, especially for London, you've already paid to be there. So I'm not in favor of paid parking at the beach at all.
Well, thank you for your comments. Again, I'm thinking that there are pros and cons to the whole concept. You know, some of the arguments that are being put out there, and perhaps this should be fleshed out a little further for us, of perhaps automobiles being redirected down our side streets rather than willing to attend the beach if there's a parking fee involved. So that may be a deterrent, and maybe it rightfully so. But it's up to council if you want to push this through the committee and let them do a further investigation on it, or if you wish to just say thank you very much, staff, and dismiss it outright. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe just a comment from staff. If it's something that is considered, is the expectation that all the funding received stay at the beach? Or can it be reallocated to other non-core projects in Port Burwell?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that it would be a council decision as to where the funding could be directed. My submission would be that any funding is more funding than we have currently. So it's just more additional revenue the municipality has it at its disposal to use to offset costs of tax levy increase.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Emerson.
We had an interesting day Wednesday as I was hanging around Port Burwell, and I think 6 people approached me. 1 was in favor, 6 was against. My biggest concern, I think, is unintended consequences, because I already see on the side streets people putting pylons on the street to keep their driveways from being blocked. And So I do think we might end up with a different, like to get the turnover, which I understand. And by the way, I do appreciate the report and I do appreciate the initiative to try to find other sources of revenue. But another way we could consider, and I know it's private property, but to connect somehow like it used to be connected from the parking lot down the bottom of the hill to the beach. Since they dug that ramp out for the sub, there's no real walking path if you wanted to. And I think it would seem rather daunting to go up that hill to downtown Port Burwell and then walk to the beach and then walk back. If there was some way to make a walkway, once again, connecting the two parking lots, that would go a long way to alleviating parking issues at the beach. I mean, and I know this is gonna, and then I wonder too, instead of paying a group, if there was some way just to hire a person to chalk tires and write tickets.
Wonder that would be more expensive.
I'm kind of wonder if it is or not, right? Like, you know, and then I've heard comments from residents that have spent time at Port Stanley and have said that those pay stations don't really work effective. So I think if we're really going to move forward, we have to seriously consider the public's experience, not the municipality's experience in these different municipalities. And maybe consider, it is kind of an attractive idea to work on the, you know, non-core infrastructure with the money, but I think that it's probably not a great idea to proceed at this time, in my opinion.
All right. Any other opinions? Related to this particular issue, parking is a problem, and I admit it. We've been down there. In fact, the deputy and I have been down there on a long weekend, and it's just incredible. And where they are parked and not even parked legally, mind you. One of the things that comes to my mind is we do have a municipal lot that is underutilized. And I would ask that, you know, a takeaway even from this discussion is ask staff to look into that. If greater signage is required, perhaps that is something to direct people. An overflow lot, bottom of the Pitt Street, for God's sakes. And I agree with what you're saying, Councillor Emerson. Yes, it used to be there, but it's traversing across private property and there have to be some kind of an agreement with that individual if they wish to allow people access across his land. It's an option and it's definitely something to consider. But I guess the question before us right now is, do you wish to end the discussion on this and thank staff and put it to bed? Or do you wish to ask the Waterfront Advisory Committee for their input?
Mr. Mayor, I think it would be prudent to ask the Waterfront Committee and include them in this process.
All right, I'm seeing a couple of nods down here. All right. So. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none. Then I would assume that the motion would read something along the lines of the report BL 0224 regarding the Port Burwell East Beach paid parking options be received.
And that the report be referred to the Waterfront Advisory Committee for comment.
Is anyone willing to move that? Councillor Emerson will move that. Councillor Froese will second that. All in favor? There you go. That's carried. Thank you. Good discussion.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, members of council.
You know, something I should have added to be included on that was staff to investigate the signage for Pitt Street. Would you consider that as direction? Or do you want a motion for that?
If there's direction, then there should be a motion for it, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Council, are you interested in having staff explore perhaps enhanced signage at Pitt Street for the Pitt Street parking lot?
So you may, I would move that, I would make that motion.
Okay, you craft something up there, Madam Clerk. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. While that's being crafted, can I just make a comment about that?
Yes.
Because I do, and just a recommendation to staff is that if we're going to be looking at increasing signage for Pitt Street, maybe we could consider an offloading zone at the actual parking lot down at the beach, because if people are going to be parking and have to walk, then there should be a designated offload zone where they can drop the kids and all their stuff for the day, and then proceed to the municipal parking lot that's up the street. Just a comment.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, we would look at that, myself in conjunction with the manager of public works as well as the area in general and what's needed for signage and things like that. We would, as a pilot project, we continue to monitor as well, and implement anything that was necessary to offset the negative impacts that may happen on adjacent streets.
Just as a comment, and it's probably unfair to put you on the spot here, Steve, because you've only been, 6 months or 8 months or whatever it is with us, partway through a summer season. Is the municipal parking lot on Pitt Street, is it utilized or underutilized?
To be honest with you, I haven't monitored it that much. I know it's there. I have been down there and I don't see a significant usage. However, that's not to say that there couldn't be, and it couldn't be overflow parking when the beach parking does fill up.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if when, they find that the parking spots down at the beach, the 150 units are used, if there was some directional signage saying, hey, overflow up on Pitt Street. That's what I'm trying to get at for enhanced signage, trying to direct people. And in terms of people not willing to walk up the hill or whatever, well, perhaps you're right. But other tourists from the southern states, they tell me Savannah, hell, they park down by the river, walk into town. New Orleans the same way. They'll park by the river and walk into the French Quarter. Point is, people will walk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the comment that I raised is just to more so mitigate against people pulling around that roundabout and stopping and unloading there. It impedes traffic, and I've noticed that quite a few times when it's really busy down there, that it just seems there's only one way in, one way out, so we got to keep them moving. So if they're dropping off people to, park elsewhere, it just becomes really congested. And we have so much signage down there already. That's part of the issue, is how do you identify where these extra lots are with the amount of signage that already exists? So,
Yeah.
and these are just a few things we can.
That's a bigger issue too. Like, again, if this is an underutilized lot, then fine, let's direct them there. If it's a case that we have insufficient parking in the village, that's something that requires a further conversation too, because that lends itself to how do we go about trying to expand that from municipal plans that require some land purchases.
Well, in that vein, through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have those car counters. Can we put them at the entrance of the parking lot and actually find out how much traffic actually goes through there in a day? So we're talking,
Pitt Street or where?
well, either or, like pick the long weekend and just see how many actually enter the parking lot. Because we're speculating right now. We don't have a hard number.
We are, but at the same time, what's the difference between, how do you differentiate between cruisers and actual parkers? A lot of people cruise the roundabout and.
No, not the roundabout, but the parking lot.
Yeah, they cruise around the parking lot and then out they go.
Yeah, maybe because there's no space.
Well, maybe, or maybe they're just cruising the beach.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
So it's pretty tough. But anyway, good suggestion. Let's start with our discussion right here. You have a motion for us, Megan, please?
So I've included language from what the deputy mayor presented, as well as the overflow parking. So something possibly like that, staff be directed to investigate and report back on options for implementing a loading zone for resident drop-offs to the East Beach and erecting signage to direct residents to the Pitt Street parking lot for beach overflow parking.
All right, is that satisfactory to members? Capture the thoughts, so who's willing to move that?
That includes the waterfront comment too, right? Oh, that's been.
Yeah.
I apologize. Thank you.
Yeah, look, this is a independent motion. I need a mover and seconder for that. Counselor Emerson, Counselor Froze. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, which brings us to 7:30. We're going to recess from our regular schedule, move into a statutory planning meeting. So it is 7:30 and I'll call this planning meeting to order. We have 3 proposed zoning bylaw amendments to deal with this evening. I'm going to ask members of any disclosure of pecuniary interest, the general nature thereof. All right, seeing none. The first planning meeting deals with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0624 Unger at 53579 Colton Line. The purpose of this site-specific bylaw amendment is to recognize and permit a maximum accessory building height of 4.9 meters, that's 16 feet, and a maximum floor area of 293 meters, 3,153.8 square feet, for the existing accessory building structures, including a greenhouse, garage, and shed that exceed the requirements in section 9.5.1 and 9.7 of the zoning bylaw. The proposed site-specific bylaw amendment pertains to consent application E50-23 for a new residential lot that was conditionally approved by the Elgin County Land Division Committee on August the 23rd, 2023. The proposed site-specific bylaw amendment to the current Hamlet residential HR zone would only apply to the proposed retained lot, not the severed lot. The subject lands are known as 53579 Colton Line, south side and east of Richmond Road. The effect of this bylaw will be to recognize and permit a maximum floor area of 293 square meters. That's 3,153.8 square feet. Whereas 75 square meters or 807.3 square feet is required. Is that the right verbiage? And a maximum accessory building height of 4.9 meters, 16 feet, whereas 4.5 meters or 14.7 feet is required for the existing accessory building structures on the proposed retained lot by way of site-specific exemptions to the HR zone. Have I got that correct, Mark? Maximum floor area is this, but only 75 is required.
Through your worship, sorry. Yes, that's the proper wording.
If I understand correctly, the limitation is in the zoning bylaw, 75 square meters.
Correct,
All right, and they're asking for 293.
correct.
Okay, the wording befuddles me, but that's okay. I understand it now. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to invite any public participation. If you wish to speak to this zoning bylaw amendment, please attend the podium, sign in, and have your say. Okay, seeing none. And I see there's no correspondence with this file and no other business. Brings us to the adjournment motion. That the zoning bylaw be considered at a future meeting of council and that pursuant to Planning Act requirements, the planning meeting for zoning application ZBA 0624 is now complete at 7:34 PM. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weiser. Councilor Emerson, thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, let's call the second public meeting to order at 7:35 PM. Now I'll ask members again for any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment, we're dealing with proposed zoning the bylaw amendment ZBA 0724 Underhill Farms Limited at 54761 Vienna Line. Purpose of this bylaw amendment is to rezone two portions of the subject lands as a result of a surplus farm dwelling severance in zoning bylaw Z 456/2003. The proposed severed lot is to be rezoned from agricultural A1 zone to residential zone. The proposed retained lot is to be rezoned from A1 to special agricultural A2 zone to prohibit new dwellings. The subject lands are known as 54761 Vienna Line, south side, west of Brown Road and east of Woodworth Road. The effect of this bylaw will be to recognize the residential nature of the newly created residential lot and to prohibit new dwellings on the retained farm parcel in accordance with the official plan as part of the clearing of consent conditions for Elgin County Land Division Committee File number E624. And at this time, I will call for any public participation pertaining to this file. Anyone wishing to speak to this, please attend the podium, sign in. Okay, I would note that there is no correspondence with this file and no other business with this file, which brings us to the adjournment motion, which reads, the zoning bylaw be considered at a future meeting of council, and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 0724 is now complete at 7:36 PM. Moved by Deputy Mayor Weisler, seconded by Councilor Froze. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Which brings us to the next public meeting, and I will call this meeting to order at 7:37 PM. Remind members of any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. This public meeting deals with a proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0824, Lancusen Farms Limited at 55106 Vienna Line. The purpose of this bylaw amendment is to rezone two portions of the subject lands as a result of a surplus farm dwelling severance in zoning bylaw Z 456/2003. The proposed severed lot is to be rezoned from agricultural A1 zone to a site-specific rural residential zone. To permit a rear yard depth of 3 meters, permit an existing oversized accessory building of 285 square meters, and the prohibition of the keeping of livestock. The proposed retained lot would be rezoned from the A1 zone to a site-specific agricultural A2 zone to prohibit new dwellings and recognize the existing supplementary farm dwelling. Subject lands are known as 55106 Vienna Line, north side of Vienna Line, east of Brown Road. The effect of this bylaw will be to recognize the residential nature of the newly created residential lot and to prohibit new dwellings on the retained farm parcel in accordance with the official plan as part of the clearing of consent conditions for Elgin County Land Division Committee, file number E424. At this time, I will invite any public participation pertaining to this file. Please attend the podium, sign in. Okay, I would note that there is no correspondence with this particular file. I see there is no other business this file, which brings us to the adjournment. The motion reads that the zoning bylaw be considered at a future meeting of council and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 0824 is now complete at 7:39 PM. Do we have a mover and seconder, please? Councilor Froze and Councilor Emerson will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We will now return to our regular scheduled meeting and the agenda. Brings us to, I believe we left off at section 12, Development Services, Sustainability and Conservation. 12.1 correspondence and 12.1 to receive for information. There's a list of them here. Okay, for the benefit of those viewing at home, I'll read them off. Item A, notice of public meeting regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0624 Unger. Item B, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0724 Underhill. C, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0824 Lancusen. D, notice of passing regarding the Silverthorne zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0124. E, notice of passing regarding Underhill zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0224. F, notice of passing of regarding Wall zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0324. G, notice of passing regarding Graham zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0424. H, notice of adoption regarding Underhill Farms Limited official plan amendment number 36. Item I, notice of decision regarding Roy Schreiber Farms Limited, minor variance A 0324. J, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0524 CHR Farms Limited. And item K, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1124 Peters. Does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns regarding any of these pieces of information? Seeing none, the motion reads that items 12.1.1A through K be received for information. We have Councilor Chilcott is willing to move that. Deputy Mayor Weiser is willing to second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to 12.2, reports to council. Report DS 1424 by Margaret Underhill, the planning coordinator, deputy clerk, regarding official plan conformity review 2024 estimated timelines and associated budget fees. Good evening, Margaret.
Good evening, your worship and council. So this first report before you deals with our official plan conformity review 2024. At the special budget meeting, council received the capital budget. This item for official plan comprehensive review is included. It's a process that we will see throughout 2024 as we get going. What's presented to you is the change order from Arcadis. So the official plan conformity review change order, providing you with details of the process, timelines, budget, and fees. So the change order is before you. Section 1 speaks to the scope of amendment, lays out the conformity review work phases with the corresponding tasks to be completed in each phase. Section 2 speaks to payment and reimbursement amendment details, the activity and task with the estimated fee associated with each phase. And Section 3 is the schedule amendment details with the estimated completion timelines. So the estimated fee for the completion of the official plan conformity review is $60,000. The amount included in the 2024 capital budget is $25,000. In addition, as you know, on February 27th, 2024, council approved the transfer of $40,000 of the year-end surplus to the planning reserve. With this financial commitment, the OPCR, official plan conformity review, is fully funded. Staff will endeavor, however, to monitor the process and look for any cost savings where we can as we move through the process. So right now, before you, like I said, is the change order from Arcadis. If you have any questions, Arcadis is on the line that they can speak to any questions you may have for the process, the timelines, anything that's included in that change order. The purpose of presenting it to you is for your approval of it so that we can get the process started. And then we can move along through 2024 and get this project completed. So I'll leave it with you, your worship, for questions.
Thank you very much for that report. Does any member of council have any questions? I'm going to throw one out there for you, Mark. Is it normal during the OP review to fund it through one fiscal cycle? Seems to me, if I recall in the past, we've funded this over 2 cycles.
Through your worship to council. Originally, we had the official plan review stretched between 2023 and 2024.
Right.
We did not begin the process in 2023 for various reasons. One being that the Elgin County OP is not complete, and ours has to reflect any changes made to the county plan. Also, the PPS, the provincial policy statement, is not completed yet. We're hoping that it will be soon. It was due to be last year, but there will be some changes in that as well that we want to be able to reflect in our official plan. So we had to stay away from the process in 2023 in hopes that 2024, those documents will be complete. We can complete ours. So we are looking at completing it in 1 year.
Yep.
If we're not able to, then we would stretch it to 2025. But the plan right now is to do it this year and be done by the end of the year.
Well, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. The question wasn't meant to be critical. The question
I know.
was meant to be illustrative.
Right.
That normally we would fund this over 2 cycles. You'd never, you barely, but it seems like a big ask. And that's why. That's all I was trying to get across. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I do hope it goes faster than the counties because that's been dragging on for a long time.
Forever.
Hey, public meetings Tuesday night.
Yep.
Any questions? Okay. Thanks for showing up, Kristen. I think it's going to be an easy night for you.
Thank you very
If-
much, everyone. Yes, and have a good night.
The motion before us reads that report DS 1424 regarding the official plan conformity review 2024 estimated timelines and associated budget fees be received for information. And that council approve the Arcadis Professional Services Canada Inc. form of change order number 2 to formally initiate the official plan conformity review 2024 in the quoted amount of $60,000 plus HST. And that the funding for this project be allocated from the planning reserve and the 2024 capital budget. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Emerson will move. Councilor Ferrose will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Well, I think Mark gets to read the recommendations on the next one.
Great.
Okay, item B, report DS 1524 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator. Deputy Clerk regarding consent application E 1824 Bergen at 10564 Culloden Road.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the report, as stated, is a consent application E 18-24. And I will just wait one moment. And yes, the lands are located at 10564 Culloden Road in the hamlet of North Hall. The applicant is requesting to sever a parcel, 0.24 hectares, 0.59 acres, and to retain 7.9 hectares or 19.5 acres of land with the intent to create one new residential lot with an existing single detached dwelling and to retain the vacant lands to build a future single detached dwelling. The planner's memorandum is attached, dated March 11, 2024. It does analyze the application subject to our own official plan and zoning bylaw. Standard conditions would include engineered stormwater management with drainage grading plan, civic numbering signage for the severed lot, survey, cash in lieu payment for the creation of a lot, and the planning report fee. Other conditions would apply regarding a new county road access for the severed lot, a drain deposit for reassessment as it is part of the Bartley drain, and as well, the requirement for the installation of a well for the severed lot, as the well right now for the existing dwelling is on the retained portion, proposed retained portion. So staff and planner do recommend support of the consent application for the creation of one residential dwelling lot. It fronts on Culloden Road in the hamlet of North Hall with the recommended conditions. And I leave it with you, your worship, for questions.
All right, thank you very much for that. Any questions from council? Though not perhaps germane to the consent application, it is of interest for me. Has there been any indication where they're intending to site the new residential dwelling?
Yes, your worship. Included in the very last page of the actual application, there is a diagram showing a red dashed area where the new house will be. I'm sorry, I can't refer to what page that would be on your agenda, but it is the last page of the actual application
It's not,
attached to the report.
it's not the map.
Is it not there?
64.
It's the Kim Husted Surveying Limited Survey.
So it will be in the larger parcel at the back.
Correct. That's, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mhm.
Any other questions from council? All right, see none.
We could tag team.
Yeah. Okay. The motion reads, a report DS 1524 regarding the consent application E 1824 Bergen be received. And that council recommend to the Elgin County Land Division Committee that consent application E 1824 be granted, subject to the following conditions and considerations. Number one, the owner obtains approval of a zoning bylaw amendment for the proposed retained lot from agricultural A1 to site-specific agricultural A1 zone to recognize the existing lot area deficiency of 7.9 hectares, existing lot frontage deficiency of 20 meters, and permit a side yard depth of 2.8 meters for the existing accessory building structure. Number two, the owner obtains approval of a zoning bylaw amendment for the removal of the H1 holding provision for the proposed severed lot. Number three, the owner obtain an access permit from the County of Elgin to create a new independent access to the proposed severed lot from Culloden Road, built to support the weight of fire apparatus. Number four, the owner install an individual private well on the severed lot, providing the municipality with water quantity and water quality reports for bacteria and nitrates content, meeting the provincial standards for residential use as a matter of public health and safety. Number five, the owner provide an engineered grading, drainage, and stormwater management plan for both parcels to show outlets and to demonstrate that the lot will drain properly with no negative impacts on the neighboring lands or the road, all to the satisfaction of the municipality. Number six, the owner obtained confirmation from Hydro One regarding the provision of hydro services, specifically whether new independent hydro servicing is required for each lot, or alternatively, whether maintenance easements are required over the existing hydro servicing on the severed and retained lots. Number seven, that the owner initiate and assume, if required, all engineering costs associated with the preparation of a revised assessment schedule for the Bartley Drain in accordance with the Drainage Act RSO 1990 as amended, with a deposit to be paid in full to the municipality prior to the condition being deemed fulfilled. If the deposit does not cover the cost of the revised assessment schedule, the applicant will be billed for any additional costs incurred. Number eight, the owner pay the cash in lieu of parkland dedication fee to the municipality as required by municipal bylaw number 2020-053. The owner, number nine, the owner provide a digital copy of the registered plan of survey of the subject land to the municipality. Number 10, the owner purchase a civic number sign for the severed lot from the municipality. And number 11, the owner pays the planning report fee due and payable to the municipality upon consent approval. I hope you don't want me to reread that, but I will entertain a mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Weisler? Councillor Chilcott? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item C, report DS 1624 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding consent application E2224 Hebert at 11478 Plank Road. Mark.
Thank you, your worship, and through you to council. This report is in regards to a consent application to create a lot in the hamlet of Eden. The applicant is requesting to sever a parcel 0.17 hectares or 0.42 acres and to retain 0.76 hectares or 1.88 acres of land with the intent to create one new residential lot with an existing single detached dwelling and to retain the vacant lands to build a future single detached dwelling. Subject lands are hamlets. They are designated hamlets in our OP and hamlet residential in our zoning bylaw. The planner's memorandum is attached, dated March 11, 2024, and it analyzes the application subject to our own official plan and zoning bylaw. Standard conditions would include engineered stormwater management with drainage and grading plan, civic numbering signage for the retained lot, survey, cash in lieu payment for the creation of a lot, and the planning report fee. Other conditions apply regarding a new county road access for the retained lot, a drain deposit for reassessment, sanitary sewer connection and installation of a well on the retained lot. Staff and planner recommend the support of the consent application for the creation of one residential dwelling lot containing an existing dwelling fronting on Plank Road in the hamlet of Eden with the recommended conditions in the report. And I leave it with you, your worship, for questions.
Thank you for that report. Does anyone have any questions? Any concerns? Seeing none? The motion would read that report DS 1624 regarding the consent application E2224 Hebert be received. And that council recommend to the Elgin County Land Division Committee that consent application E2224 be granted subject to the following conditions and considerations. 1, the existing shed and overhead hydro line connecting from the existing single detached dwelling to the shed be removed or relocated from the proposed retained lot. Number 2, the owner obtain an access permit from the County of Elgin to create a new independent access to the proposed retained lot from Plank Road, built to support the weight of fire apparatus. Number 3, the owner install an individual private well on the retained lot, providing the municipality with water quantity and water quality reports for bacteria and nitrates content, meeting the provincial standards for residential use as a matter of public health and safety. Number 4, that the owner provides confirmation of sufficient reserve sewage system capacity within the municipal sewage services for the new municipal sanitary sewer service connection required for the proposed retained lot. Once confirmed, the owner shall obtain a permit for municipality for the installation of a new municipal sanitary sewer service connection to the proposed retained lot. Number 5, the owner provide an engineered grading, drainage, and stormwater management plan for both parcels to show outlets and to demonstrate that the lot will drain properly with no negative impacts on the neighboring lands or the road, all to the satisfaction of the municipality. Number 6, the owner initiate and assume, if required, all engineering costs associated with the preparation of a revised assessment schedule for the Eden main drain in accordance with the Drainage Act RSO 1990, as amended, with the deposit to be paid in full to the municipality prior to the condition being deemed fulfilled. If the deposit does not cover the cost of the revised assessment schedule, the applicant will be billed for any additional costs incurred. Number 7, the owner pay the cash in lieu of parkland dedication fee to the municipality as required in the municipal bylaw number 2020-053. Number 8, the owner provide a digital copy of the registered plan of survey of the subject land to the municipality. Number 9, the owner purchase a civic number sign for the retained lot from the municipality. And number 10, the owner pay the planning report fee due and payable to the municipality upon consent approval. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Chilcott will move. Counselor Froze will second. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you for that, Mark. That was one clause less.
You're welcome.
Item D, report DS 1724 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding the Ontario Land Tribunal Final Order OPA number 30 and zoning bylaw Z 765-2023 Barry Wade Homes, Inc., 2 Robinson Street and 3 Erie Street.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to council. This report is to provide the Ontario Land Tribunal Final Order dated February the 12th, 2024, to also present to you the official plan amendment number 30 as finalized by the OLT, Ontario Land Tribunal Final Order, and also the zoning bylaw Z 765-2023. On January 19th, 2023, Council considered staff report DS 0323 regarding the official plan amendment, OPA 0122, and zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 0222, submitted by Michael and Rita Glenn and Barry Wade Homes, Inc., for properties located at 2 Robinson Street and 3 Erie in Port Burwell for the development of a 13-unit townhouse. At the same meeting, Council passed a motion to refuse the OPA, official plan amendment, and the zoning. And Barry Wade Homes, Inc. in turn filed an appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal. The public hearing was held September 7th, 2023, with a written decision issued on October 30th, 2023. And OLT final order issued and received by the municipality on February 12th, 2024. The OLT final order is attached to receive for information. Staff are also requesting council direction to add the official plan amendment number 30 to the official plan and to add zoning bylaw Z 765-2023 to the comprehensive zoning bylaw Z 456-2003 as amended to conclude the appeal of Barry Wade Homes, Inc. And I leave it with you, Your Worship, for questions.
Thank you for that report. Does the council have any questions? Okay, thank you very much for that, Mark. The motion then would read that report DS 1724 regarding the Ontario Land Tribunal final order regarding the official plan amendment number 30 and zoning bylaw Z 765-2023 Barry Wade Homes, Inc. be received for information. And that council directs staff to add official plan amendment number 30 to the official plan and to add zoning bylaw Z 765-2023 to the comprehensive zoning bylaw Z 456-2003 as amended to conclude the appeal of Barry Wade Homes, Inc. Do we have a mover and seconder, please? Councilor Emerson. Councilor Froze will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much easier motion to read. Section 13, Finance Administration, 13.1 Correspondence, 13.11 to receive for information. Again, a long list. I'll read them through for the benefit of those viewing at home. Item A, Town of Cobourg regarding proposed amendment to subsection 2716 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Item B, Town of Cobourg regarding affordability of water and wastewater systems in rural and small urban municipalities. Item C, Town of Aurora regarding legislative amendments to improve municipal codes of conduct and enforcement. Item D, Town of Aurora regarding council committee meeting structure under strong mayor powers. Item E, Town of Bracebridge regarding the request for new provincial municipal fiscal framework. Item F, City of Quinte West regarding the housing funding. Item G, Township of Amaranth regarding operational budget funding. H, Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the 2023 annual report and financial statements. Item I, the Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the February 7th, 2024 meeting minutes. And item J, the Elgin St. Thomas Coalition to End Poverty regarding the 2023 timeline of success. Any questions, concerns, comments on any of these items of correspondence? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment on J, item J. It's actually a really good read, and I would encourage anyone watching from home to take a quick look at it. I congratulate the St. Thomas Coalition on their hard work, and that snapshot of what they've done throughout the year is pretty impressive. So I just wanted to congratulate them on that. It's a really good read. And also, I would like to move to support item C, Town of Aurora, regarding the legislative amendments to approve municipal codes of conduct. This has come up a few times in different ways.
Mhm.
And I do like the way this is structured, so I'm putting it forward to council to consider.
All right, a question to staff, just to jog my memory. Have we not supported similar motions in the past?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have supported similar motions. I think this is structured differently and it's a bit of a different matter than what
Alright.
we've considered previously.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor? I would move to support, the letter from item 1E and 1G to consider a different time for
Okay.
budget.
Thank you for that. Again, just looking to staff, have we not supported a motion regarding the AMO's attempt to work on a new fiscal arrangement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe we received correspondence, but I'm not sure that we've actually supported correspondence in that regard.
All right, okay. Reason I'm asking is, we've already done it, we don't.
No, I understand.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Seeing no other comments or questions, then I believe the motion would read, and I assume that Deputy Mayor Weisler would move, perhaps seconded by Councilor Emerson, if we can get this all together in one omnibus motion. That items 13.11A through J be received for information. And that we got there.
Council, and that council for the municipality of BAM supports items C, E, and G.
I believe that's what's been identified. Is that you're willing to move in second?
So,
Okay. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Did I move or did? Tim?
You moved.
I moved. Okay, thank you. Yep, just
Well,
making
you,
sure.
you were voluntold.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
You were first to speak up, so you got it.
There it is.
All right, 13.2, reports to council. Report CL 0224 by Megan Elliott, clerk, regarding municipal assistance and special event requests. Megan, please.
Thank you, your worship. Through you to council. Every year, there are requests brought to you under municipal assistance. That includes sometimes requests for funding, facility rental relief, materials, road closures, anything of that nature. It all has fallen under the umbrella of municipal assistance. In 2023, when we brought that report to you, it was noted that there could possibly be some ways that we streamline the process, and staff was directed to report back with some draft policies for consideration. So today, what is in front of you to consider is possibly changing the process a little bit to have two different channels. So one channel would be municipal assistance. That would still flow through council, and that would just be for funding requests and facility rental requests based on community events or needs from the community. That would be tied to the municipal assistance policy that would be based on a certain timeline that is set annually, dependent on whenever the budget is set. So every year, if you decide to put money into the municipal assistance line, then we would determine a timeline to open applications for the community groups to apply for up to $2,000, and also noting if they had an event that was using a facility that had fees, then they can request for that relief as well. That channel, as I said, would be tied to only once a year. So they would have to apply and go through that. And then we have put forth for consideration the idea that the requests all to do with the events themselves. So road closures, materials, using a park that doesn't have a fee, that could all go through staff if there was delegated authority to the manager of public works, which is done through bylaw, so that he has authority under council to say yay or nay, dependent on what materials he has, what staff time he has, that sort of thing. We're proposing this because there are a number of different events or requests for materials or using a parking lot or a park or things of that flow through at different times other than when previously the community groups would apply for their main events. And sometimes when it's in the summer, we only have one meeting and we're not able to accommodate their requests. So something of this nature would help for it to be through staff channels to make sure that that can happen, and it allows staff to work with the groups a little bit more closely for what they are requesting, making sure that everything is set up properly, everything's being covered. So there's two policies attached for consideration. So as mentioned, the one would be based on essentially almost a grant program from the municipality. And the second one is more of a staff process for special events. So for the special event policy, it would generally be if a group comes to us and they want to have a parade and use the park and they need 10 pylons, it would flow through myself and I would discuss it with public works staff, any other staff that might be mentioned. And we would give approval in principle if we believe that we can do it. And then we would work with the groups further of a final checklist of, okay, yes, sounds like it'll work as long as you give us A through F by a certain date. And then we make sure that for road closure specifically, if it's something with the county, we make sure that we coordinate with them as well. And just go through all those kind of channels. The one thing that's noted in the report that I've thought on a little bit more is road closure requests for our county as well as other counties, municipalities, seems to be the standard of insurance is now 5 million instead of 2. That is something that we're requesting to move to, but looking into 2025 because our, let's say the main hall right now, rental agreements are based on 2 million. And that would be difficult to say, okay, well, this one's 2 and this one's 5 and that sort of thing. So we would want to streamline that all together, but just noting that in today's world, the 2 million, if something were to happen, unfortunately would not get us to where we need to be. So that's in front of you to consider. If you have any questions on the draft policies, if you like this idea of breaking it into 2 channels and delegating staff authority, then we would come back next meeting with bylaws to formally adopt these policies and to do the delegation of authority to the manager of public works. And then I would start working on getting the new application forms ready and go through those channels with the community groups.
Counselor Chilcott.
Thank you. So are you saying that groups that would have an event would have to apply for assistance in, say, December? And then closer to the event, they have to put in another application to get garbage pails, pylons, porta potties, whatever else they need?
Well,
So essentially, yes. So there'd be 2 different forms. So
no, not secondary. What this is proposing is if you have a group coming forward looking for financial assistance, for example, a festival.
Right.
But if they wanted to run a Santa Claus parade, they don't need to come to us anymore. They would be going to staff.
but it would be 2 different forms. But
two
yeah,
different
one goes to
forms.
staff, one would go to council.
So I'm just trying to clarify. If the Watermelon Fest needs porta potties, financial assistance, garbage pails, they need all that type of stuff, they fill out one form and that's the events.
Nope.
They fill out two.
One is an events, the other one is municipal assistance.
That's what I was asking.
Yes,
Because before it was the events,
yes.
covered everything. So it's two forms.
And generally, the idea of applying to council for the municipal assistance in this regard is just money or facility rental relief. There would not be any requests of, we want you to coordinate porta potties for us or that sort of thing. So it would just
It
be,
is that way. That's why I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
That people are now gonna have to do two forms. It won't be all included because it's gonna be confusing for them to start.
yes. And I have been in contact with the groups to say, you know, for right now, because usually this would have already come through to council and that sort of thing. So they all are aware that to hang tight right now, and I'll be looping back on whatever our process is moving forward.
I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, no problem. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just for process, Megan, if I'm curious as to when the special events forms are completed now with that request for additional items that have to go to Public Works and things, are they provided a copy of that request?
Public Works is given a copy of that through our Laserfiche system.
Okay. Supplementary.
Mhm.
So, yeah, moving forward with with the extra sheet that will go straight through staff, which is fine. Is there a timeline associated with when that form has to be submitted?
Yes.
To give, I'm just thinking of adequate notice for Public Works.
Yes, there is. Let me go to there. I have drafted for 90 days in advance. That is mostly,
apologize.
that's okay. That's mostly because if it involves a county road closure,
Right.
then there's other channels that I can't push along faster. So,
Supplementary.
Please.
I'm just
Deputy.
gonna, I'll close the loop on my thought process and just finish my comment with, this would provide a little additional flexibility because there's a timeline associated with the municipal assistance budget line items. We need that information early on in the year. But if we can instead of having to come back and say, oops, I forgot to add something, this gives them some flexibility in the needs that Public Works would provide.
that's exactly right. That tends to already happen right now, and we try to accommodate them as much as possible, but we don't actually have that delegated authority. So we are trying to streamline it a little bit more and be able to help the community groups to, if there's a last minute thing and we can coordinate for them, then we can do that.
Thank you.
Councilor Probst.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So just a clarification question, I guess. So if a new group came and requested a parade, the Bayham farmers wanted to do a parade and up and down Highway 19, it would never come to council.
Through your worship, if it is not if it's just a parade special event request, then it wouldn't go to council for approval. It would go through staff, but council would always be made aware of whatever events are being approved, and we would always be posting them on our municipal website calendar. And
Or
if,
not, or not.
or not approved, correct.
Yeah, see, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah, me either. Like, what happens if someone says no? Like, say you say, no, I don't want you to have a parade, then what's their process? There's no negotiation there, like.
So through your worship to council, that is part of council delegating authority if there is that wish to do so. That when you're delegating that authority, it is outlined your general intentions and we follow that. Generally, we would always be leaning to yes when possible. If it was ever a no, it would be because of not available staff time. They didn't have insurance. You never, like, there could be all different reasons. It wouldn't be no because we don't want it, or, you know. I don't know how else.
What if it was the fascist party of Canada wanted that? Through you, Mr. Mayor, what do? What if it was like the fascist party of Canada wants to have a parade and someone in the office says yes and there's no oversight? Or the opposite. Right? What if somebody wanted to have, I don't know, like a LGBT parade and somebody is, anti-gay in the staff?
I think we're throwing a bunch of hypotheticals. up here, but,
No, I know, but still.
I
it's still-
understand what you're getting at, but in this day and age, I don't think. There would have to be some really severe, reason to be, how about put it this way? Just using your example, Councilor Groves, bunch of farmers get together, they want to run their tractors up and down the road, for a parade. But what's the organization who's gonna hold the insurance ticket? Please.
Right now, that's irrelevant. What's relevant is us as council making decisions for the greater of municipality.
No,
That's what's on the
same
table.
difference. If it was even a council discretion,
That's a logistic problem that, of course, nobody's gonna have a parade if they're not gonna present insurance.
okay,
That's-
that's what I'm
that's-
trying to get at.
Of course,
So,
that's
Yeah,
that's here nor there either way.
Councilor Chilcott.
Thank you. So let's say we did go with this. What is their route if they get denied? And how much time, like, so let's say they do their 3 months, their 90 days, and they get denied for whatever reason. Then they want to come back, they want to protest that, basically. What do they do? What is the course of action?
What's the
that they
appeal
take?
mechanisms, what you're asking? Is there an appeal mechanism built in? It's a delegations of authority bylaw.
And now they're less than 90 days because they have to appeal it.
So through your worship to council, it would then, I would assume, come through council if they want to go further than that, as council would have delegated authority to the manager of public works. If that was the decision and they don't like that, then they can delegate to council to override that.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. The way I read this report is that we're delegating authority to Public Works to identify whether they have, number one, met the condition of the insurance, and number two, whether the requested items are available to be provided. I don't look at this report as that we're authorizing them to say yay or nay to an event. It's more, do we have the supplies required to authorize, and have they fulfilled the terms of the agreement to have said event? So that's how I'm reading it.
So who's gonna say, sorry,
Through the chair, please. Yes, Councilor Probst.
thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. To Deputy Mayor, so who's gonna say yay or nay then?
Through you.
To the new group.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So again, this is a checklist of additional required materials, like road closure materials, pylons, porta potties, use of a park that doesn't require a deposit. So I would think that for this particular thing, it's not, I'm not seeing it as, and perhaps correct me if I'm wrong, but we're delegating that authority to staff and Public Works to determine if those materials are available and that they've fulfilled the terms of the special events. So yeah, I guess in essence, staff would be delegated that authority for this, if it's a non-funded municipal event.
There will be a cost, because there's a cost of staff time and material.
Correct.
Yes.
But I'm just, if it's outside of the municipal policy or the municipal, oh, maybe.
Financial assistance.
The financial assistance policy, thank you. Anyway.
And through your worship, this is totally up to what council is comfortable with doing. The idea of proposing it to be separate is to be able to help the groups if there's applications sporadically throughout the year, as there seems to be. Or if council wishes to keep similar to the previous way, I would probably be recommending that there be more deadlines involved that when it comes through council. To make sure that everyone's applying upfront so that there's not 10 staff reports all separately for all the requests.
Well, yes, I understand that. There are those events that may arise later on in the year, not have foresight to have it done. For example, theoretically, Council Pros, farmers get together and decide they want to have a parade down, I don't know, Plank and Jackson, say, in October. They don't get around to doing anything about it thinking about it till July. We didn't get this application in April. All I'm trying to get at is it's an opportunity trying to create some more flexibility in the system. That's all it is. Counselor Chilcott.
Continue.
No, but I do have an issue with the insurance level.
I do as well.
Too.
That was my next thing once we got through this. I was thinking, I do like the two-stream approach, because getting that financial item taken care of in the beginning of the year, and then having 90 days in order to be able to get pylons and that type of thing. If there's a checklist for it, that it should be a no-brainer, right? You can tick it off. You're not deciding what type of event they're going to have. You're going to tell them whether or not they have enough pylons, enough porta pots for that day. And that's it. It doesn't matter whether it's gay pride or.
But that, through you, Mr. Mayor, but that's not actually what they're saying. I think the yay or nay on whether or not the event should happen should be a council decision, but whether or not we have the time or the ability or the materials to support it is a separate decision.
That's what I assume.
No, that we're saying that if it's a parade that's not funding, it still has to get approved by council. I think, no, it has to be approved by staff. And then, but I think that's two separate issues, whether or not they're asking for garbage cans or whether or not they have the ability to have the event in the first place.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I'm sensing that there's reticence around council of granting the delegated authority to staff. They want to retain that. That's what I'm understanding. That's one. Second one is, I assume, has any research gone into what the premium difference would be for a 5 lane coverage versus 2 lane coverage? Well, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Do you know?
I don't know what the actual numbers are now, but I know that years ago, we tried to have a show up here, the gun show, and we had to have $6 million liability insurance for it, and that made it prohibitive for us to have it. So it was sponsored by the gun club instead of the
All right.
community committee. SHF. So it was a huge difference at that time. And I think that it would put undue stress on some of these organizations.
Okay, that's one thing. I have a question for staff as a follow-up. I assume the 5 million is the county. Now, if under our current rules, you're asking for 2 million. How was it that we're able to bridge the gap in this county infrastructure? Insurance department?
Currently, the way that the channels work from a community group having a parade
Mhm.
is that we, as a municipality, put them as an additional insured under us. And then we provide that to the county.
All right, so that's the mechanism. All right, well, thank you for that clarification. Goes back to the original question though. What's council want to do? Do you want to delegate authority to staff or do you wish to retain it? And I'm hearing Councilor Froze.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, retain it.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a clarification question to Megan. Do we have an estimate from Public Works how often these requests are coming in outside of municipal assistance program at the beginning of the year?
Through your worship, they generally come to myself. So it usually is the typical ones that we know about, but even from those, there's a handful that I don't get them until later in the year. And then I do know of one or two things that kind of come up in the summertime, wanting to use a parking lot or a park and that sort of thing, so. But they're just casual things, so. But even too with the groups, when they do apply up front, it's somewhat high level information. And it feels a little open-ended that we're trying to help them as much as possible, but there's not a lot of details. If it was something through these channels where we could streamline it a little bit more with working with them directly and being a little bit more in charge of, you know, being a little bit more firm of, okay, well, we only have 6 pylons for you, or we only have this, or just knowing more of the details of the event, so we're more involved or aware. I think that it would be helpful.
With respect, I believe that is the kind of question that staff could ask and have that information. If the request is coming to council, staff are well aware from doing a little research saying, we can't meet that, we don't recommend you do this because we don't have the material to do it. That, I think, is an important piece that council will require in order to make that decision. So, sorry.
And through your worship, there are some of those requests up front. We find that when we get closer to the day, then it's, oh, also I need the key for the hydro, or I need the water, or I need this booth, or I need, you know, and we want to help them. But we're kind of going above what was approved, so.
I understand.
Thank you.
Councilor
Do we have an online form, or do we have a some kind of form that these groups can fill out that asks them, do you need this, that whatever we offer, we have those listed, and then they select them, and if they don't select what they need
They don't
closer
get
to the date, then they may not get it.
And through your worship, that's what I'm trying to develop as well, is to be a little bit more detailed. Last year, we created an online form, but it was still generally, or it was still pretty general, just tied to what do you need listed out, but I would be looking at making the form more detailed as well.
I think we need that. I think we need something where everybody has the same information and they tick the boxes, they hand it in, and then we
Yeah.
make a decision.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it, but we're getting a little far away from the field of the question here. All right, any further discussion on this? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So just to clarify, Megan, could you tell me, in the event that we choose to maintain our authority at this time and not delegate it, what does it look like? Can we can still keep the 2 forms separate? Would you keep the 2 forms separate? But then they would come back to council for approval? Or would we just stick with the old, the policy?
So through your worship, that would be a little bit more of where I'd want to chat to get a little more direction of which way we want to go, because currently there is no municipal assistance policy. The way that has been going has just been understood, but there's no policy to streamline or tighten up certain areas. So if we do still want it to just be under one umbrella, I would still recommend that I draft something to come up with a procedure for that way, which would still be similar to the previous, but possibly having other deadlines of when you should apply and that nature.
Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It sounds like council generally wants to consider here an omnibus policy, something that combines both recommend referring it back to staff to draft a combined policy for presentation to council at a later date.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't think that's what we're saying. I think we're saying the sundry list items, that's kind of free reign, but the decision yay or nay is council's. I think that's what we're trying to say.
I think that's exactly what, staff are recommending. I think they're saying that, they're reading the room, saying council's not interested with developing these two streams. Bring it together as one policy. It'll require two different application forms, one for finance, one for, material, so to speak, or one to use road. I think that's what they're asking for direction on. They'll come back and bring us up. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Unless I've misinterpreted.
No, you're correct, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, I misunderstood Tom.
No, no problem. Okay, Council Froze. Are you willing to move whatever we're gonna draft here? Trust me, buddy. It will be
Yes, sir.
something along the
I trust
lines
you.
of this. You're crafting something up, it'll be received for information, but at the same time, staff be directed.
Mhm.
All right. I'll let our wordsmith, give us a more eloquent. We're putting down spots.
That report CL 0224 regarding municipal assistance and special event requests be received for information, and that staff be directed to report back with one municipal assistance / event policy to flow through council for approvals.
Counselor Rose will move. Seconder, Counselor Emerson. Do we have all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, report CAO 0824 by Thomas Sayer, CAO, regarding transition to OPP Detachment Board Community Safety Policing Act 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is, we'll just say it's a long time coming. Council's been receiving information on the upcoming Community Safety and Policing Act since 2021. So we are finally here, and the regulation comes into force and effect with the act on April the 1st of this year. Effectively, what that does is it dissolves the Elgin Area Police Services Board and then creates an Elgin OPP Detachment Board. From an administrative perspective, what we have to do is appoint a member to represent BAM, establish the term and establish the remuneration, and provide this correspondence to the lead of the board, which my understanding is it still will be Elgin County. So the proposed structure of the detachment board is attached in the excerpt from the reg. And there's no change to the structure. So there's still going to be one council appointee that represents both BAM and Malahide. Currently, that's Mayor Dominique Giguère from Malahide for the balance of this council term. So in discussion with other area municipalities that will sit on this board, we're all of opinion that we should continue with the status quo for the remainder of this council term. The recommendation before council reflects this, and will seek the support of council to appoint Dominique Giguère as the BAM Malahide appointee for the balance of the term, being until November 14th, 2026. And that the remuneration remain the same as it is currently, which is $1,500 per year for members and $2,000 for the chair, and that formal correspondence be provided to the detachment lead by the CAO. I will leave it with you, Mr. Mayor, for any discussion, any questions.
Okay, comments, questions, and thank you for your report. Yes, Counselor Froze.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So, is the 4 years Bayham, 4-year Malahide thing still in place?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. So the intent is that they will still continue. Dominique would finish out her 4-year term this term, and then it would revert to BAM for the next council term.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. Has it ever been considered that it's a split term? That BAM have 2 years, Malahide have 2 years in the council term, or has it always historically been the full 4-year term for one representative?
From my experience, it has always been the full length of the
It's the
term.
full length.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Any additional questions? Thank you for that. Counselor
Sorry,
Chilcott,
got it
you
in there.
got it in there.
So what exactly is the difference between the two, other than the name? Like I was trying to see it here and it's.
There isn't a substantial change. There isn't any change with respect to the composition and all of that stuff. It's the same. This is more of the OPP taking on more of an administrative role with respect to the board rather than having it be explicitly county led. But the structure and a lot of the overarching priorities and jurisdiction of the board remains the same.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further? Okay, then the motion would read the report CAO 0824 regarding the transition to OPP Detachment Board. Community Safety and Policing Act 2019 be received for information. And that the Council of the Corporation and Municipality of Bayham supports the appointment of Dominique Giguere as Bayham Malahide appointee to the Elgin OPP Detachment Board until the end of the current term of council being November 14th, 2026. And that the Council of the Corporation and Municipality of Bayham supports remuneration for OPP Detachment Board members at $1,500 per year for members and $2,000 per year for the chair. And that correspondence on this matter be provided to the OPP Detachment Board lead under the CAO's signature. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councilor Chilcott and Councilor Froese will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Which brings us to item C, report CAO 0924 by Thomas Thayer, CAO, regarding the Bayham Community Strategic Plan Progress 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So once again, this report is a one-year progress report on how the municipality has done with respect to implementing or making progress on various community strategic plan initiatives that were identified by council in the new strategic plan. Council adopted the new strategic plan on July the 6th of last year. However, council did earlier in the year approve the proposed initiatives to be included in the new draft of the strategic plan. So in light of that, this report identifies a number of the progress pieces and success pieces tied to various initiatives that council has identified. The report breaks it down by key goals. So the first goal is quality of place, which focuses on core infrastructure, improve tourism, and strategies to attract and retain businesses to reinforce our economy. So in 2023, BAM continued to focus heavily on core infrastructure renewal, including roads projects for Bayham Drive, Tollgate, Chapel Street, James Line, and Pressy Line. The sidewalk program replaced approximately 400 meters of sidewalk in Port Burwell along Victoria Street. And the municipality was also able to complete an ambitious project through the ISIP Green Stream program to replace over 240 water service lines in Vienna. Much of these works were funded either through grants or through the OSIP and gas tax programs to limit levy impacts. Council was also made aware in 2022 that we were unsuccessful with the DMAF, but did support us making a second application to additional intake. This is still working its way through the evaluation process. And council has since also received information from CJDL with respect to capacity on the sanitary system and was supportive of proceeding with design and other background works associated with the Eden Pump Station expansion. With regards to our non-core portfolio, a new committee policy and procedural bylaw were adopted by council, which permitted the appointment of the Waterfront Advisory Committee. So 4 meetings have been held to date, with the committee receiving information from staff and council and providing recommendation to council on capital and operations matters, including continued support for the Blue Flag program. The lighthouse has also been included in the capital budget as a 2025 item. So this was set in 2023 due to the structural concerns identified in 2023. It's a $1.5 million capital project item. Then to support it, council has repurposed the dredging reserve to the lighthouse reserve, which currently has a balance of approximately $54,000 unaudited. Municipality does continue to participate with Elgin County with respect to economic development. So Elgin incentives continued in 2023 as our CIP to provide opportunities to local businesses to seek out external funding for capital upgrades in support of their operations. One business did receive Elgin incentives funding in 2023. And in addition, the county commenced the business retention and expansion program in the back half of the year, and the mayor and the CAO are active on the leadership team for this program, which has been active in Bayham, interviewing established businesses to gain a better understanding to help guide countywide economic development programming. Under quality of life, this focuses on passive and active services to the community, strategic growth, and being environmentally conscious. So under this goal, Bayham has been provided direction to expand our non-core portfolio in 23. So 2 improvements were made in the Vienna Community Park, a new pavilion and a new 2-court multi-use court for basketball and pickleball. Services for these projects were required in accordance with our procurement policy and were funded primarily through the Vienna Community Improvement Reserve Fund in the latter half of the year. Repairs were also completed to the Port Burwell gazebo adjacent to the library. This gazebo structure was enhanced and the building was lowered from a raised wooden deck to a concrete slab to improve accessibility of the gazebo, and a sidewalk was installed to connect the gazebo to the Port Burwell sidewalk network. The municipality was also successful in its 2023 Blue Flag application for status at the East Beach. So this aligning with the Blue Flag mandate and desires of council. Staff were successful in enhancing programming at the East Beach, including attendance of academy, education, and the East Elgin Secondary School Environmental Leadership Program. In Q4 23, council was desirous of a 24 Blue Flag application. This has since been submitted and is pending review. And the municipality's new partnership with the East Elgin ELP has also been nominated for an award through Blue Flag International on the themes of biodiversity, pollution control, and climate change. Under the final goal, quality of governance, this focuses on developing and retaining knowledge to improve services, demonstrating financial responsibility, and taking advantage of partnerships and joint ventures to the betterment of the community. So the municipality greatly improved its communications and technology platforms in 23. A new website through GHD Digital was developed and launched in Q4 to ensure increased service and greater compliance with AODA, specifically with respect to web accessibility. Capital project did come in under budget, which is another success. Staff have also completed in Q1, Q2 construction in the council chambers to provide for hybrid council meetings. So this involved the formal installation of camera televisions and associated trenching and wiring. So Bayham has now been providing hybrid meetings for approximately 18 months with the videos available on YouTube for reference. The uptake of Bayham's Voyant Alert platform has continued to increase, and as of the end of 2023 was 403 subscribers. Staff continued to discuss internally about the inclusion of social media as a component of Bayham's communications. More information is expected to come to council later this year. Internally, staff continue to cross-train and seek out ways for existing within the existing organizational structure to provide for built-in backups and prevent potential for internal succession planning and advancement where possible. In regards to grant funding operations, the municipality was successful in obtaining an enabling accessibility fund grant for the works of the Marine Museum. As noted earlier, we did also complete the works through the ISIP Green Stream grant and have also completed requirements through a Southwestern Tourism Relief Fund grant to support lighthouse studies and offset levy and reserve impacts. With respect to council's main priority to eliminate the remaining principal associated with the Ojibwa, this has been further identified in the 2024-2033 capital budget as approved in October. Council included and approved a $1 million guarantorship loan reserve transfer to be funded by the levy. This will bring the total funds in this reserve to approximately $2.4 million at the end of 2024, which is approximately 60% of the remaining balance needed in March of 2025. And it's worthwhile to reiterate that the loan principal and associated interest are being paid on something that is not a municipal asset. So this is ultimately debt capacity that needs to be available to support core and non-core infrastructure assets in accordance with the municipality's guiding documents and studies on this. Being the asset management plan, roads needs study, and our Port Burwell master drainage plan. Operationally, Council supported updates to the rates and fee bylaw, which increases fees in certain functional areas to address increasing costs of service provision. Most notably, council approved increased building and planning fees, which will move these service areas closer to cost recovery and reduce levy impacts, particularly with planning services. Staff commenced further works at council direction with Watson and Associates to conceptualize a formal development charge for Bayham, including such functions as roads, parks and recreation, and fire services, which service the entirety of Bayham. More information on this process is forthcoming this year. And staff have also discussed the possibility for two other cost recovery mechanisms in 24 or 25, one of which you've heard tonight, which is paid parking at the East Beach. The second one is being discussed internally, and that is the garbage bag tag program. The municipality, with support of council, has also seen a successful year of partnerships with other municipalities. Bayham established shared servicing with Malahide for building and bylaw. This arrangement formally began on July the 1st, 2023, with transition of building services, and was followed on July the 10th with the onboard of a bylaw enforcement officer. Since this time, both municipalities have seen a substantial increase in building enforcement service hours, and Bayham has seen a substantial savings in per hour for building services. Feedback from Malahide with respect to bylaw enforcement continues to be exemplary. And we also continue to receive active legal, information technology, and human resources support where needed from Elgin County, and will continue to discuss the possibility of a centralized planning service into 2024 once the director of planning services is onboarded to determine the service level for that county function. Staff will continue to provide updates to council on a regular basis regarding strategic plan matters through individual reports and planned updates to council on progress on key projects and initiatives to ensure accountability to both council and the public regarding council's strategic goals. With that, Mr. Mayor, I will leave it to you and council to discuss. The recommendation is to receive this report for information.
All right, thank you, Thomas, for that report. It was timely. It was informative. It was a nice recap. I know it wasn't inclusive. There was a lot more going on, just what you've identified, but thank you for that. Does council have any comments, questions, concerns? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just that amendment, right? The date is wrong there on that one page.
Yes, I did notice that. It should be July 1st, 23.
Thank you. That spelling error, but we
There
won't point that out.
Saw it too, but I couldn't find.
Oh, I found it, but I wasn't gonna be rude, and point it out. But I didn't tell you where it was, did I? Now you're gonna have to look for it.
It's like a where's Waldo? There's one in every report.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Any other
There it is.
questions? It's, there you go. Yes. Councilor Chilcott.
No, I just wanted to say it was a well-written report, gave a lot of information and, kind of reminds us of everything that has been done over the last little while and, well done. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Great. I have a motion that would read the report CAO 0924 regarding the Bayham Community Strategic Plan Progress 2023 be received for information. Do I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Chilcott? Deputy Mayor Weisler, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to report CAO 1024 by Thomas Sayer, CAO regarding license agreement, Ron and Bonnie Bradfield, 21 Robinson Street.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So currently the municipality has an agreement with the landowners at 21 Robinson Street for a license agreement over the lands to allow for stabilization and other works in support of lighthouse general rehabilitation. So council received a report earlier this year, and that advised that the 2-year agreement as authorized by bylaw 2023-023 lapses on February the 15th, 2025. So council has identified this as a 2025 capital item, which means there's a chance that the works are not complete by the expiry date. So staff have advised and entered into discussions with the landowner, and they are amenable to an extension. The extension is identified in the agreement and this report as being until the end of 2025, so December 31st. We are recommending a new agreement because the ownership on the lands has changed from a corporation to individuals. We'd be looking for council's support to repeal the existing bylaw, enter into a new agreement by bylaw, which is on the council agenda tonight, and that gives us until the end of 2025. Should we be in a position in 2025 where we don't think we'll be able to finish the works in that fiscal year, then there will have to be a different discussion, but this does provide us with approximately another 8 months worth of runway.
All right, thank you for that. Does any member have any questions or concerns regarding this report? And thank you for the report. Okay. We have a motion that reads that report CAO 1024 regarding the license agreement, Ron and Bonnie Bradfield, 21 Robinson Street, Port Burwell will be received for information. And that council authorize the execution of a license agreement between the municipality and Ron and Bonnie Bradfield to permit access and use of 21 Robinson Street, Port Burwell in support of stabilization and restoration efforts regarding the Port Burwell Lighthouse. And that bylaw number 2023-023 be repealed in its entirety. And that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weiser and Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to section 14, bylaw number 2024-013. Being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the municipality and Ron and Bonnie Bradfield to permit access over the lands at 21 Robinson Street. Everyone's had opportunity to read it. Deputy Mayor? Thank you. Who wants the second? Councilor Prose? That bylaw number 2024-013 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. All in favor? Carried. Brings us to section 16. I need a mover and seconder for the following. The council do now rise and enter into an in-camera session at 8:56 p.m. to discuss item A, confidential item regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, administration. And item B, confidential item regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, labor relations, employee negotiations, staffing. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Chilcott and Deputy Mayor Weiser, all in favor? We are carried. We are taking a break.